How many times have you heard someone say that you shouldn't make a birth plan because what's the point? Because you never know what's going to happen on the day. And anyway, you shouldn't have a plan. You should just put preferences because, it might need to change. Now, I am all for helping women and birthing people to understand that, yes, things can change on the day, but we don't need to infantilize women and birthing people. They know that. They know that things can change, but they can still have a firm plan of what they want and what they don't want. And it saddens me how often I hear women and birthing people being told not to bother creating a plan because you never know what's going to happen on the day. And would you do that with any other thing in your life? Like a wedding. Say you met a wedding planner and they said to you, you know what? You just don't know what's going to happen on the day. You don't know how I'm going to feel. You don't know what's going to happen with you. Maybe you might be sick. Maybe it might be raining. You never know what the environment's going to be like. So let's just wing it. Let's just wait till the day. Let's not even look at what your options are. Let's not bother researching anything. Let's just rock up on the day, leave it to me, and I'll just decide what happens. You just wouldn't do it. So why are we infantilizing women and birthing people and making them believe that they shouldn't have a plan? Because I think that having a birth plan and creating one with someone that you know and trust, whether that's your midwife or your doula or your birth partner, is really important. And it's not necessarily about everything going according to the plan. It's about doing your research. It's about understanding your options. It's about just understanding what's available to you and helping you to feel in control. So many women are walking, and birthing people are walking away from birth traumatized. It's something, I think it's 1 in 3 women are walking away from childbirth with birth trauma. And often we know that one of the biggest factors is communication and women not being listened to. And having a plan and knowing what you want helps you to advocate for yourself more. But also what I love about birth plans is I spend a lot of time over the course of pregnancies with my clients talking about what they want from labour and birth and what they don't want and what's important to them, and helping them understand what can happen and what changes can happen during labour that mean that they might need to deviate from the plan, that things might need to change, and getting them to a place where I know what they want and what their hopes are, but with the understanding that they know that things can change. I feel that it's just barbaric that we are expecting anyone to go into such a huge transitional part of their life, to go into birthing and expect them not to have any information about what their options are. And I have seen before where women come in with their long birth plans, and you'll get eye rolls from medical professionals, or there's certain books out there that really take the mickey out of women who have choices, who have written down what they want and what they don't want, and I just think it's barbaric. I think that we should all be encouraging birth plans, because the way I see it personally, when someone has got a solid birth plan, when they really know what they want and they don't want, and they have done their research, I actually feel able to advocate for them more, because I know they're not generic. None of us are generic. We're not all the same. We all have different beliefs and backgrounds and needs, And we are all individuals, and we should all be able to go into birth with the feeling supported in terms of the choices that we make, and that includes the choice of making a birth plan. Now, you might hear people say, leave it up to the professionals, they know what's best for you, and I'll say that they don't. They don't always know what's best for you. They can go by perhaps the list of guidelines that they have in their hospital, but that doesn't take into account you as an individual. That takes into account hospitals' guidelines and the NICE guidelines and what's recommended through that. It doesn't take into account you as an individual. And following on from that, another thing that I'm increasingly hearing, not just from women but also from people who work in the birth world, is around policy and guideline, and there seems to be a bit of confusion around what a guideline is, and people talk about policy like it's say for example, I once had someone tell me that they had to be induced because it was the law. Now, it's a guideline. There may be a hospital or a trust or a birth centre may have a guideline to recommend or offer induction or augmentation of labour, but it can't be enforced. It's not a policy. It can't be enforced. There's nothing that anybody can create in terms of a guideline or a policy that enforces something on a woman. And actually, in the UK, we have the Human Rights Act. It's actually written into law that women have to have, women and birthing people have to have choice, and you have to obtain consent. There was a huge landmark case a few years ago, Montgomery, Lanarkshire, that actually changed the law in terms of consent. And for consent to be valid, women and birthing people have to have a choice. So they have to be able to say no, and they have to know the information. So creating a plan is a part of getting to know what's available to you, getting to know the research, getting to know what the guidelines are, so you're not having to understand those in the moment of labour or birth, because that is not the time to be doing your research. It should be done before, and it should be encouraged to be done before, to make sure that we really are understanding what our choices are, and really are, when it comes to giving consent or permission for a procedure or induction or having your waters broken or having a sweep, that you're doing it from a place of really understanding what that means, what that can mean, the risks and the benefits. And obviously you can't do this for everything in terms of your pregnancy and labour and birth, but there are a number of things that are routinely recommended that you can definitely prepare for, and that is things like sweeps, induction of labour, fetal monitoring, like monitoring of your baby in labour, having a cannula, having your waters broken artificially, vitamin K. There's lots of things that you can really do your research for beforehand and understand, so that you can give proper consent. And it's not just in the UK. So the UK has the Human Rights Act, so that it is written in law. Other countries have it's written into their healthcare professionals' requirements to obtain consent. So again, to obtain consent for something, for someone to consent to something, they have to be able to have the choice. Without choice, then there can't be consent. It can't be valid consent without someone having the option to say no. So what I'm getting at is that birth plans are a good thing, and you don't have to call them preferences. You call them a plan, because you can absolutely decide what you accept or decline during labour and birth. So don't be afraid of writing your plan out, and Don't listen to anybody who tells you that that you shouldn't be reading or you shouldn't be doing research. Someone recently contacted me and said that their midwife or their doula actually said not to read and not to do research because it can be a bit much, a bit too much information to take in. And I think as an adult, you can make that decision for yourself. If you want to shut out, if you don't want to read anything, then you don't. But if you feel inclined to know what your options are and to do your research, then don't listen to anybody telling you that you shouldn't be doing it. So I would love to hear what your thoughts are on birth plans, whether you've been encouraged to write preferences. And yeah, if you're a healthcare professional or a woman, a birthing person, or a partner, or anybody, I would love to know your thoughts on birth plans.